This is an attempt, as we said this morning, to keep going more deeply into this question of collaboration and this kind of work. We're going to basically talk about what the work is of a collaborative structure at the district level, how it's different than the work at the site level, but what's the relationship, all right, between those two as they do the work. And then we'll pick up the last piece of the theme today on organizational change. How do you talk about this work to the larger system? Because it's an enormously sophisticated way to do this. And you can hear it in an anecdote. My job is always to generalize this theory. All right? So the first piece that I want to complicate here is simply, what do we mean? Because we mean a whole bunch of things when we use the word collaboration. And one of the classic simple ways to do this is to just look at a simple kind of continuum, right, in which position 1 and position 7 give you some ability to at least start talking about different levels of openness and sharing. And let me start by simply saying, by different levels of openness and sharing, there is not a good and a bad on this. There is simply a different level of descriptor as you move across. So, all right, whoever has the responsibility and the power by kind of legal or moral suasion to say, and I'm going to start with whoever that is. I could start with the management or I could start with the union. It doesn't matter. I start with with one of the others, all right? And for the sake of this argument, let's start with the management. The classic issue here is management is given the mandate, in quotes, by the board and so forth, to instill some sort of a plan around Common Core. Now, the simplest way to do that in this continuum is simply say, I'm management, I have the responsibility, the board's going to hold me responsible, so here's the plan. Now, in position 1, that's what that's meant to be, which is to say, this is mine, it's my prerogative and my authority and my position, and I'm going to do it because it's what I should do. All right, it's a moral position. It's fine, it's a legal position if you want to take it and so forth. There's nothing wrong with it at all. The second position, in some senses, is pretty clear. The second position is simply, you say to the other, in this case it could be anybody, but I'm going to use the union because that's what we're talking about here. You say to the representatives of the union, this is my journey, my urgency, my responsibility, and Todd's breathing down my neck on the board on this thing. So I'm going to share this with you, at least, what my plan is. All right, just so I don't want to surprise you, and I don't want to jump you on this thing. Here it is. So here's the plan. It's mine. It's a plan. But as my children used to say to me, I'm going to explain it to you, Dad. All right. So in some senses, I just give them some information. At some minimal level, that's collaboration, because at least there's some respect around saying, before it hits you, here's how fast we're going to go. And the issue always is direction and pace. This is not a big deal, all right? The elements of plans, the elements of responsibility for implementation are always two things. What direction are we going, and how fast or slow are we going to go? Those are the fundamental issues. All right? So if you basically want to go clearly then to the next piece, it might be, and this is the trickiest of the positions, number 3. Position 3 is to basically say, I'm going, but before I go, and I got some ideas, I'd like your input. Now that sounds great. It is very, very tricky. It's even tricky for you on the other side to take the gambit and say, oh, okay, here are my thoughts. Because once you cross that line, you're in it, but you got no guarantee that you're in it. And by that I simply mean, again, to my kids, I used to always ask them, where do you want to go for vacation this summer? Dad's being pretty collaborative and open on this thing. And my youngest used to say, is this a done deal? All right? In which she basically is saying at the age of 7, you're setting me up, you're going to ask me, and then we're going to do what the hell you've already decided anyway, right? All right? So the position 3 is very, very tricky because all the constituency is looking at the union leadership and saying, were you in the room? Yes. Did you get asked? Yes. Did you give him input? Yes. But he did this. And you say, you must have told him to do that. And you say, no, I didn't tell him to do that. I suggested this. The difficulty with position 3 is it has a lovely idea that the plan gets all sorts of enrichment. And it's true, it can. All right? But there's no guarantee unless you talk about it clearly. Unless you say, at that moment, what does it mean for me to give you input here? I don't mean for you to say, I am absolutely bound by your best thought. But you have to have a dialogue at position 3. You got to make it expressed, and you got to say it clearly. When we talk about this, and I give you, and we differ on what you thought you were going to do and what I'm suggesting we should do, we have to at least commit that we're going to basically struggle with that. You have to have some good faith commitment that there's going to be push and shove if you're willing to at least give me input. Otherwise, I would say to the other, whoever the other is, say, thank you very much, tell me where we're going and how fast. Because I at least can second guess you then. I can go out on the street and play hardball with you. I can stop you, I can try, all right? But at least we're clear, you're doing it to me and I'm going to have some rights back. But if you invite me in but don't invite me in, tricky, and I want to basically name that, because if you can't do it in your team, say crisply and clearly, what venue are we in? You will basically sidetrack each other. It'll get all wrapped up in the steering wheel. All right? The position 4 is pretty clear, all right, in the sense that, all right, you're basically just trying to move to some authentic we, in which you basically are saying, let's do this together. And that means we're not going to move until we're together. That's what that means. Simple, straight up, all right? And it means it'll take you as long as it takes you, and you have to agree on direction and pace. You want to get here a whole lot. But what I'm really trying to do is make this sophisticated enough to know that even in a single meeting on the Common Core, you might decide on all sorts of things that are in this venue, position 4, but you could also be very clear to say, in 1 or 2 areas, I'm not willing, I can't share that. So I'm only willing to go here on this, and here's the reason. Legally, I can't move there, or I'm not comfortable with it. Now, you can debate that, but my only point is in any given single configuration of some work in a couple of hours, you have to be good enough to know where the hell you are. Because this is a sliding scale, and it's meant to be. The word means this. It doesn't mean this. And if there's a prime analogate in here, it's position 4. But you can't be sloppy and say, oh, we were doing it collaboratively, and not push each other to say, what are you meaning? And let me go further. 5, 6, and 7 are really fun, all right? And we do it, all right, but we don't make it expressed, which is that you can come down the other side of it by saying, this is yours. Take it, but I want some input. I'm staying with the same me and you. I'm staying with the administrator who says, why don't you take it? For instance, why don't you choose, all right, who the teacher leaders are that are going to drive this out? You know better than I. Make the choices, but give me or give my principals a chance to make some input in there. Clear passage to a 5 with reason. Makes some sense in many cases, and so forth. All right? You haven't walked away. You basically said, this is yours, but you're going to check with me. All right? The 6th position is in some senses, all right, yours, and if you need my help, all right, yell, but you may not. And the last position is go. And, you know, it's your responsibility, the same as it is mine here. We've just agreed that in some senses this is yours. Now look at that. For many years, without having any language around this is what happens, all right, in terms of going in and teaching 3rd grade. I mean, when I teach Latin and Greek, God forbid, all right, when I close the door, nobody knows what I'm doing in there, all right? Somebody has given me absolute professional judgment and responsibility to say, make it happen. Make it happen for those 30 characters and make it happen as fast as you can with as much joy and fun as there is. All right? That's my mandate. So I go, all right? And I don't need help back in here unless I somehow want to make some fairly deep change in the system. My only point is, in this thing, because we did it last time, and Tom I think is right, saying, this complicates it correctly. All right? This makes it as complex as it really is. All right? I guess our only point, and giving you some chances to talk about it, is, now you've had a discussion this morning around kind of where you are. How's the district, do you have a collaborative structure at all at the site at the district level? All right? This is a chance to say, do we have any language and any understanding with one another that we have the ability to talk about the fact that this is in constant flux, and that if we get lost, look, you don't have to kill yourself with this, but if you get lost, and by lost I mean if either side is uncomfortable with what you think you're agreeing to, you have to have some simple language to say, where the hell are we? All right? Are we doing this together? Is this ours, or are you just asking my input? Where are we on this? Because it can change like this, and the problem is there's no bad faith in the room. It's just that everybody's moving with their stuff, and the assistant superintendent of teaching and learning has basically been with you at position 4, but on this one she's moved back to 2, but didn't tell anybody because it's clear to her. All right? It's real clear to her that this is her baby. Well, at that point you got to have a chance to say, did you just move to 2? All right? Because I'm beginning to feel that there's no input here. All right? And I think if you can have that conversation, chances are she can smile and laugh and say, I guess I did. To which you at least have a chance to say, are you open at all to any influence on this? See, my only point is that if you have the language, it isn't simply a definition issue, then you can talk about it. Why are you there? Are you willing to move, make an exception, and so forth? So it's a simple tool. I just wanted you to know that there's no pure gold in here. It's just rugged work together, and you better have a way to talk about it.